I say, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? I am your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, the best film writer and director in St. Louis. Facts, award-winning published author, activist, journalist, business owner, Lacey G. Soldier Turner. And today with me, I have a special guest. He's Academy Award-winning producer. He owns and operates multiple companies. His mission is creating, discovering, and highlighting multicultural and diverse content in the entertainment industry. I got the wonderful, amazing, talented David Stewart II. How you doing today, David?
Doing great, Lacey. Thanks for having me on.
Well, welcome to the platform. You're welcome. So, my first question I wanted to ask you, I know you started the Lion Forge LLC in St. Louis, where you publish comic and graphic novels. Could you tell me what made you start that?
Well, it kind of came out of, my, growing interest in comics. It kind of started with, with the, success of, iPads and tablet devices, back in the, 2008, 2009, access to, comic books became a lot more widespread. And so, I kind of fell down a rabbit hole and kind of fell in love with something that, I was engaged with, somewhat as a kid, but had limited access because, at that time you had to go to the bookstore and pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
and,
yes, right.
And I wanted to, get out there and, produce something and that's, representative of, our community and what I thought was cool out there.
Okay. So what made you create the company Polarity?
So Polarity is a holding company that we, so initially we started in comics, and along the way we bought a couple other publishers. So we bought Magnetic Press as well as Oni Press as well. And we also had formed a animation studio, Lion Forge Animation. So we formed Polarity to house those companies. So we have now currently we have two publishing companies. We have Magnetic Press, we have Oni Lion Forge, a merger of those two companies, and Lion Forge Animation.
Okay. So I saw that you won, you had an Oscar-winning film, your short film, Her Love. How did you feel when you won that award, and what was it like?
Oh, it was a very surreal night that night. It's you kind of go into those situations, and again that journey was, first we had to produce it. The second was getting it qualified, which was getting it with Angry Birds 2 release, and then getting that nomination. We're like, okay, great, we're getting a lot of momentum, a lot of people are loving it. We're getting a lot of positive feedback everywhere. Going into that night though, you just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It's going to go the way I think it's going to go, or sometimes they flip the script on you. And so when they finally called out her name, I mean, it was exciting.
Okay, so you didn't know they was gonna call out your name. You was just like,
well, I knew early on we had a special project, and I always tell folks, and I kind of tell them, early on when we first got involved, that I'm like, oh, this is gonna win an Academy Award. I said that from I believed it, but sometimes things happen. So
I say the same thing.
I had some surety, and I had some strong belief that it was gonna do well, but you never know sometimes.
Yeah, you spoke it to existence. You manifested it, and it happened after this. Yeah. So what made you start Lion Forge Animation?
So Lion Forge Animation, we started, again, we were, doing things in publishing and kind of blazing trails there in terms of, opening up, opportunities for, various diverse creators. And, we were like, let's take this a step further and kind of look at animation. And, one of the things, I didn't realize in kind of getting in the industry is that, especially African Americans, we're kind of few and far between in terms of participation in the animation market. And so, so after starting, I said, this is a great calling for us to be able to, be here and hopefully be, a inspiration for others to come into the market, but also offer up opportunities and provide opportunities for us to get in the animation industry as well.
Okay, nice. And I see you partner with a lot of different organizations. I want to talk about too. I saw that you partnered with Scott Ventures to introduce the legacy of the Wendell Scott, of Wendell Scott, the first African American race car driver. So how did that take place, and what was that like?
That I think that again, that was one of those another of those spiritual moments where I was, we were involved with racing from a family standpoint. We were supporting Bubba Wallace in NASCAR, and in that process, you kind of learn about racing, right? And
Mhm.
I remember looking up. I'm like, well, who's the first, African American
Yeah.
NASCAR? Because Bubba at the time, and still is, the only African American in the Cup
Mhm.
Series now. And I'm like, well, it's Wendell Scott. I'm like, oh, cool. So I kind of, did a little digging. I'm like, you know what? I gotta reach out to these folks at some point. I gotta reach out to these folks, because I'd love to. That story needs to be told. We need to get something out there. And so I end up at licensing show, and I hear Warwick, who's his grandson, he came to our booth and he's talking to one of our folks about his grandfather. He's like, yeah, my grandfather was first black NASCAR racer. And I turn around, I'm like, what? To talk to you. And so, yeah, so that was the first time we met. Again, it was one of those God moments that kind of brought us together. And, since then we've, kind of been collaborating and working with them and, just get that legacy out there, get working with NASCAR to get the trophy return that he wasn't given when he won his race, which happened a year ago. And, now we're working to get his story out there.
That's good. That's amazing. See, God told me to tell you, you need to work with the first black man. His name is Lacey Turner. Not just playing. But what was it like working with Brian Studios on your animated TV series? I don't know if it's in production yet of Ernest, the Love spinoff series for HBO Max.
Yeah, well, we did work with Braun. That project was unfortunately canceled, but we do have a current show right now with HBO Max called Ianu,
Okay.
and that show is in production right now and features. And it's actually a pretty interesting story. So we're working with Oria Coupe, who's a Nigerian creator, and this show is based in Nigerian specific folklore, and it's a action adventure show featuring a female protagonist, and we're very excited about it. And again, HBO Max has seen our work, seen what we're doing there, and they're excited as well.
Okay. Okay. And I saw that you was on the past board chair of 9 PBS and recently elected to is it late vice chair of America's public television stations?
Correct.
Okay. So how was that like feeling jumping from the chair to the access of all the television stations?
Well, it's just a continuation of what I've been doing with 9 PBS, just on a little bit different scale. So I've been on the board for nine. I was on the board for 9 PBS for about 12 years, and thoroughly enjoyed my time there. And one of the key things that I was doing was advocacy work in Washington D.C. to make sure that public media funding was protected. And so APTS is that National Advocacy Board. So now I sit on there and again continuing that work to make sure that we have the funding is not disrupted for public television.
Okay. And I see that you won many awards. One of them I want to talk about is the Bob Clampett Humanitarian Award. How was that? How did you go about receiving that, and what was that feeling like when you received it?
Well, that was from our work with an organization called BINC, and we worked with them to create a fund that initially to help comic book stores in times of need. And so, if and not a lot of people realize that, most comic book stores are, single operator. I mean, not single operator, but sole proprietor businesses that have small staffs and things, and so just small disruptions of life can really affect them. So let's say the wife of the owner gets sick or something like that and he can't work, or if there's an employee that gets sick, they help to help those businesses get through those times that could be potentially devastating to them. And so we created a fund there, and then that fund that we established again 6 months out from COVID, not realizing what was going to happen, ended up being utilized pretty heavily, within COVID time. And so that award was for the work that we did with Bink there.
Okay. So you've been highly successful in a lot of things that you've done that I researched. I was like, wow. What do you think has been your greatest challenge throughout the industry?
The greatest challenge, that I think is, I think for me, it's when we were entering the comics industry, as well as I mentioned, as we're entering the animation industry, just, how little representation that we have in both, and how tough it is, especially being African American and persons of color trying to break in and succeed in these industries. And so, I've been very blessed to be able to establish businesses there. And so, for me, it's about how can we really focus on giving opportunity to persons of color to be able to ascend them, kind of up the ladder, whether it's opportunities on the writing side in comics or and things like that, or art, or on the animation side, how do we give opportunities so that we have more Black directors and more Black producers, out there in the animation industry.
Okay. What has been your greatest accomplishment?
I'm still working on a lot of. We're really in a lot of ways just starting. I know. It's been a blessing to have an Academy Award under our belt, and some of the other honors that we've gotten. But we really want to get more content out there. We really want to make that change. I'll be satisfied once we have a ton of different movies and TV shows out there, and we've also have put a lot of people out there and kind of really changed the diversity sphere of the animation and comics industry.
Yes, and it's crazy. Like I'm a writer. I write and direct films also, and a lot of people say they got to leave St. Louis, but we got so much history here. I was like, I want to turn St. Louis into a Black Hollywood also. So
we have a highly creative community. To your point, it's just I think we got to give ourselves more credit for what we do, and getting it out there and stuff, and supporting one another in that.
Definitely. So has anything changed from when you won the Oscar, or is it still the same? Have people treated you different?
Oh, I can at least make some phone calls and get them returned now. so that's been
this
helpful.
This is the Oscar winning David Stewart. Answer my phone that. But what advice would you have for someone who's trying to get into the industry as a writer or animator or anything like that?
So in both cases, it's honing your craft, making sure that, anyone that's going to do anything great, has to have the right training, but also given the right opportunity as well. And so, first and foremost, hone your craft to the best ability, whether that's, going to school or working with someone. And then, from that point, it's about, marrying that with the right opportunity to see your talent shine at that point. But as always, put in the hours. You always got to put in the hours and time. As they say, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything. So
yes.
be willing to put in the work. That's the most important thing.
Okay. So how can a person, if they want to work with your company or become employee, how can they submit their work to you or join your?
Yep. So depending on what's going on with production and things, so we kind of swell up and swell down depending on what we have in production. But if you kind of keep an eye on our website and stuff, we kind of put out opportunities and things like that there.
Okay, I got 2 more questions for you. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh, 5 years? I kind of look down the line like 20 years, myself. I mean, I have these different kind of measures of success. I want to have I want us to have some marquee properties out there akin to Star Wars, that are, kind of evergreen that, continue to, yield, we're able to produce content off of, whether it's multiple movies, TV shows, toys, video games, the whole 9 yards. I'd like to, honestly, I like to have a setup at either Universal theme parks or Disney. I want to have my own, you go to Universal, they got the whole Simpsons land, they got their, Harry Potter land. I want to have something like that for one of our properties.
Yes, I got you. I do have one more question for you. So, have you worked with DreamWorks or any one of those animation?
Yeah, so we have worked with DreamWorks a little bit. We worked with them more specifically with a few years back with comics. We did the comics for Voltron when they were relaunching the series, and kind of worked in conjunction with them to get that content out. And then we have some things in the works that we're doing right now with them.
Okay. So do you have anything coming up that the people can check out?
Coming up, so the most recent thing, so you can watch Rise Up, Sing Out on Disney Plus with music from the Roots. If you go online and type in Rhymes Through the Times, Nick Jr., which is another show we did. And you can also see a show called Super Sima. Okay. We did season 2 and 3 of that as well. Again, you can watch those on YouTube.
Okay. And my last question that I like to ask all my guests: when it is all said and done and you are long gone from this earth, what is it that you want the people to know about David Steward II?
It's a good question. I just want. I just hope that I've made a positive difference in the world, and a positive difference in people's lives, and changed some of the changes and written some of the wrongs that have kind of been done in the past to set us on a better trajectory. So.
All right, well, Mr. David, I thank you for your time. You was a professional. You shot through these questions like you say, let me know you're a professional. But now I want to thank you for everything you're doing, especially in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area, and I just think you're phenomenal. So I'm thankful that you gave me this opportunity to interview.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your interest in talking to me.
No problem. And I'll let you know. I will send it to Kelly once I put out the article and everything.
Okay, sounds good. Look forward to it.
Okay, thank you. You have a good day.
You too. Take care. All right, bye-bye.